the sleepy village of Hedemuenden in the valley of the Werra River in Lower Saxony. After losing his franchise of the Hessen Poison House in Marburg due to the dissolving of the student fraternizations by the Hitler regime, Willi moved the family to the village of Hedemuenden after leasing the Hotel Rappenhof. The hotel includes a large hall perfect for local gatherings. It becomes the focal point of the community. Traveling cinema, soccer club, rifle club, as well as the yearly summer festivals are making use of the facility. And Dr. Oetkers brings pudding samples and Mickey Mouse to town. Exploring this huge building in my childhood was a wonderful experience. There were attics and outbuildings as well as stables. I often brought my friends from the neighborhood along for the excursions. During the fall of 1937, the Hitler Youth erects a camp on the island in the middle of the Werra River. A pontoon bridge connects it to the village. All village social activity involved the party. May Day marches and Hitler's birthdays are celebrated. The Hitler Youth collects metal and paper. As in most parts of Germany, Hedemuenden embraces the new regime. We, the 6 to 10-year-olds, are singing "We Are Marching Onwards" as everything falls apart. The village is anxiously awaiting to be connected to the Rice Autobahn. A direct link is being constructed at this very moment. The newly opened kindergarten is very popular with the population, however, not with me. There is the daily ration of curd cheese for dessert, which I despise. Farm life goes on as usual, and Hedemuenden advertises itself as a Luftkurort, a climatic resort. The proximity of the Autobahn is very important to the inhabitants of the village. Having an exit connecting the town even more. Many Danish tourists use the hotel as their first stop on the way to Austria or Italy. The new Autobahn bridge across the Werra serves as a magnet for the tourist economy of the area. All seems well in 1939. Business is very good, and even automobile is being purchased. The daughter of blacksmith Schmidt looks after me for the summer. From Vienna, a young man named Walter arrives to stay with us. Family get-togethers and swimming in the Werra River occupy most of the day. School and life in earnest begins. Hedemuenden's proud railway station and crew. The Werra and the hills around Hedemuenden are our playground. Regardless of the seasons, we are always on the move. Since my parents are occupied with running the hotel, I get acquainted with everybody in town. We are playing cowboys and Indians with the Hayot, and having no idea of the pending disaster. Thanks to frequent advertising, the hotel is always sold out. Then, September the 1st, 1939 arrived. War has been declared. Our car is immediately requisitioned. A draft notice from my father follows. While my father serves in the officers' mess in Hofgeismar, my mother has to manage the hotel by herself. Most guests now are military units on maneuvers, and in 1942 the hotel is requisitioned by the party. And we move in with farmer Müller. There is time now for my mother to go on trips with family cinnamon. Not long after, however, she is ordered to work at the tree farm in the village. I myself enjoy unlimited freedom without supervision and explore the surroundings of Hedemuenden. Winters were especially severe during the war. This pathway along the Lake a sidearm of the river Vera, was always one of my favorites. At this point, the Vera is the border between Hesse and Lower Saxonia. This would be later the border between the British and the American zone. The fast-moving waters of this arm of the river was always seen as the challenge. Politically seen later, it meant no school fees in the American zone, but school fees in the British zone. And as such, no higher education for myself. When brother-in-law Alfred was looking for help to manage the restaurant in Marburg, we moved back there in 1942. As a cook, my mother managed the kitchen. After the terror bombing of the city of Kassel, my mother's sister, the Siebert family, moved into our empty apartment. You can take the boy out of the village, but you cannot take the village out of the boy. So after just a year, homesickness brought me back to Hedemuenden, now living with the Siebert family. Most imposant and towering over the village stands the sanatorium, a place where people found back to a sober existence. Surrounded by a park and several pavilions, a landmark for the region. Earlier in the century, before the Rappenhof became a hotel, it had served the very same purpose. The Eichelberg family now owned and operated the villa, with its outbuildings for the service personnel and the meandering pathways and imposing entry arches. It took up much of the southern part of the woods called Der Hegen. It is from here that on April the 8th, the 1st and 3rd Battalion of the 203rd Infantry crossed the Werra River in assault boats and accepted the surrender of the village of Hedemuenden. As the war continued, life became more difficult, food was hard to get, and most of our time was spent finding it. My father was transferred from the Afrika Korps to the Russian front. On a last visit, just weeks before the surrender, my mother tried to convince him to defect, knowing the war would only last for a few weeks. However, he declined and went back to the front in the east. In the city of Ziegenhals in Upper Silesia, he became a prisoner of the First Ukrainian Front.